Yesterday at the camp we're about to talk with Aso Pogi, I spoke to several high school football assistant coaches that were up in the stands. Of course, there were guys working on the field too with the I-4 football 2020 football showcase, but uh, talked to several former Cowboy players, including Roger Pfeiffer, who's an assistant coach at Edmond Santa Fe, and we just talked about how what the possibilities are for a high school season. And Roger said it's crazy. We really don't know what right now what's going to happen, and it's hard to plan things. So um, yeah, everybody's kind of in a little bit of a dysfunction with all the COVID-19. But that camp yesterday ran really smooth, and first time camp. Generally, you don't see it go that well, but Aso Pogi, the former Cowboy quarterback and a longtime high school coach in the state, had the right people there. They were doing the right things. I've never seen weightlifting, bench rep testing done as efficiently as it was done yesterday. And also joins us now. First time to run a camp like that, and I'm
Yeah.
guessing today you got to feel good about it. Also,
Well, Robert, I think at the end of the day, it's just about the people that you put in place, and for me, it's just about the team. I mean, Lee Blankenship and his staff, and then all of my crew, Sean Love, and then we had a countless amount of volunteers who are part of our I-4 Basketball Association, who came out and were just willing to help, and get involved. And try to make sure that everything was done the correct way, from the standpoint of registration, keeping people in social distancing and sending people to the crowd as far as the crowd is concerned, people to the stands, and then having a good format for the weight room just so it can be done efficiently. And so it's really credit to them. I'm really just the kind of the guy that kind of gets to be in front of this whole deal, but it's really about everybody else than it is about me.
well, and again, it was toasty out there. We were at Crossings Community turf field, but you had plenty of water, Gatorade at every corner, which was good. I took now I watered all day. I mean,
Yeah,
I drank a lot of water in the morning, cut my coffee off early, which I don't normally do, and because I knew for an old man out there, it was going to fry. But I
yeah.
didn't see anybody distressed. Like I said, the testing went really well, and I don't know how much of a chance you got to peruse the testing, but you had some kids really pop those 40s, man. Wow.
Oh my goodness, I couldn't be any happier. Again, we got all the benching done before camp. That was the reason we asked everybody to check in right around 4 o'clock to 5 o'clock, just so they could get that format done, and so we could wipe down benches and make sure that everything was done correctly for those kids. And then when we started camp at 5 o'clock, we did a quick stretch, 10 minutes, had a breakdown, and then from 5:15 to 5:45, we got everybody done. Close to 90 kids, 100 kids. Uh, Ran a 40 twice and a 5:10:5 twice. And to do that is number one hard, but to get all that done in 30 minutes was a lot of fun. And then, of course, the best part is, you get to watch these kids go at it and really compete. I just some numbers that jumped out to me. I got to put a clock on them. Bryce Stevens is the real deal. I mean, runs a 4.37 and then turns around and runs a 4.38. That's just different. Jacoby Johnson runs a 4.41. The kid from Mustang ran a 4.39. So really was fun. The Edmond Santa Fe, the Del City kids. We just had so many kids that were just really doing some really good things all day. So again, credit to the crew who ran it, man. It was good.
No, and I'll throw a few others in there. You mentioned Jacoby Johnson with a 4.41. there was a young man from Veneta, Kyron Downing, who we talked to late. He was not one we had down.
Yeah,
He
yeah,
ran a couple of four. I think he ran a 4.4 flat and a 4.41. Um,
yeah.
and then
Consistent
another
there.
kid. It was kind of funny because I did my research on some of these youngsters, and this is a junior from Millwood, and he's not very
Yes,
tall.
yes.
And Bailey Brown, he ran a 4.37 previously, and when we interviewed him beforehand, I said, "Hey, where'd you time that 4.37?" He goes, "Well, it was at Millwood." And I said, "Hand
Yeah.
time?" He goes, "Yeah." And he goes, "But I ran." He goes, "I ran a 4.41 laser timed at another facility." And I'm like, "Okay." And then he also lists a 40 vertical, which you guys didn't test verticals, but I asked him
Yeah.
about that vertical. He goes, "Yeah." He goes, I did that at a training center." And I said, "Okay." So I told the guys I was with, Marshall and Zach, I said, "We're going to find out today about Bailey Brown. He's either
Yeah.
one of those kids that's pumped up his 40 on the internet, or he's a real deal." Let me tell you, Coach, he was a real deal. And I don't know if you watched that little
The,
guy in 7 on
the
7.
real deal all the way, Coach. Like,
Yes.
it's so funny you said that because, he kind of came out there and just made a name for himself, didn't he? I had the privilege of coaching Greg Brown at John Marshall, which we ended up sending Greg to UCO. Was an offensive lineman for us, and Bailey ended up going to Millwood. But great athletic family, and I knew Bailey was going to come in and perform well, just because I've done some stuff with his family, and I've seen him go before. But yeah, he definitely opened up some eyes, not just with his shoes, but with his ability.
Let me ask you also, because there were some good young quarterbacks there. I know guys that we've been exposed to already. Steele Wassel from is a young pup at Choctaw. Carson May
Yeah,
is a young pup at Jones. Um, and then we've had our eyes on a lot of these guys, and I was with the linemen a lot because all five of the kids I really did a lot of stuff with beforehand were linemen. So I spent those guys, and then another Stevens, and that's the Donovan Stevens linebacker who I know
yeah,
Oklahoma State's all over from Del City. He's
yeah.
he's a real deal football player too.
Oh man, he is special. What was crazy is that he plays backer, but they put him out there at corner, and he competed really really well. I mean, he's just a cat daddy, to tell you the truth. I mean, he just can flat out go, and has that type of ability. He's going to be a really 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 special player. Really
Yeah,
fun to
hey
watch.
also
Love.
a-
Yep.
after a couple of reps out there at corner, he came back around, and I said, "Hey, you know what you're proving here today, Donovan?" And he goes,
Yeah.
"What?" And I said, "You're proving that you can run Tampa coverage. If you can do those corners and play like that out
Yeah.
there on the edge, you can do that
Yeah.
deep middle drop that Tampa requires." So you may
Oh
get
yeah.
some schools that like Tampa coverage getting all excited about you because that's what you could do with that athleticism. But go ahead.
Well, it's just the ability, and one of the things that I always look for in kids, that there's a lot of kids that come out and they have ability, and for me, I probably evaluate a little bit different. Number one, I'm just going to see how people can handle information, retain information, and then go do it. For that kid to be a backer, jump to corner, play inside technique, and be able to battle and learn how to, just see the inside hip on certain moves, and run with guys, and do things like that. It's really good. And then the ability for him to stop and get out of his breaks. Those are big deal, man. That's a big deal. Again, we're talking about a backer here who jumped out and was willing to defend out on the edge. And so he did a lot of really good things. There was just a lot of guys that did some really good, a lot of good young and upcoming guys as well.
Uh, because I didn't get to see as much of the quarterbacks, what anything stick out there for you?
I was. we capped it off in the quarterbacks, and I'm glad we did because I wanted to make sure that guys got a lot of reps, which I was told they did. They got a lot of reps, and so I wanted to see. We had a mixture of a lot of young guys, and when I say young, eighth going into ninth, ninth going into 10th. Some of those guys, and so there was a few quarterbacks that stuck out for me. I'm going to judge the quarterback position. I shouldn't say harshly, but I like guys who can spin it. But for me, there's just so much more to the game than the ability to spin the football. And what I mean by that is when we got into the half line and the 7-on-7, all we did for those things were universal play calls. These are play calls that everybody in the country runs, that every high school, every college, every pro team runs it, right? And so the ability to find out if guys could retain information and then be able to show your ability, but be patient enough to take what's given. I'm going to tell you, I thought that a guy that stuck out to me was the Carl Albert kid. Doesn't throw the
Yeah,
prettiest
Ben
ball,
Harris.
but very consistent at taking what they give him. And he doesn't get rattled with, oh, I got a go route out there, so I'm going to throw it so everybody can see that I got a big arm. Was very consistent in understanding, hey, I'm just going to take this. It's there. Take it. The Steele kid, I thought, did a great job, and he had the ability to show off his arm, and he did a lot of that as well. There was another couple kids, and I cannot even think of his name. 58 was the number. Again, I've got to go through quite a bit of videotape before we post
Roger.
anything.
That's Roger Pfeiffer. That's Roger Pfeiffer's
Yes.
kid, Scott Pfeiffer.
Now that kid there threw a gorgeous ball, and I thought he handled half line, 7-on-7 very well. Again, just being patient as a quarterback, understanding your rhythm and your flow and not being interrupted, especially with no rush. I've told quarterbacks before in the past, in 7-on-7 drills, you should be close to 100% with no rush. That's just where you should be at in these type of situations, just because you should just be dinking and dotting and just taking things in spots, right? And so very impressed with him. I thought there was a couple of young quarterbacks that I thought did some really good things. The Jackson kid from Newcastle, big arm. There's an Lawton Eisenhower kid, Carson Cooksey, big arm, threw it well underneath. There was a lot of good things that I saw out there. And again, I've got to take more time to watch the tape before I can really just kind of dive into those deals. But just off the top, that's kind of what I saw from the backside.
Yeah, and I know you probably didn't get to see a lot of the linemen, but I tell you what, Chris McClellan, the kid from Tulsa Edison, stood out. He's
yes.
what you want.
Yeah. Well, I heard plenty of it in our coaches meetings. We'd blow that whistle and meet as a coaching staff just so give kids water, but then also gives us a chance to need to make changes or organize things. And yeah, there was a lot of talk. A kid from Oolagaw, Tulsa Edison. So it was fun, man. That was a cool deal, man.
Yeah, Luke McIndoe from Stillwater showed up well, but
Yeah.
I gotta ask you about your now. Are these cousins to you? The Tito and Vu?
Yeah, both of these boys are from Lawton. They go over the Lawton Eisenhower. They're eighth graders, going to be freshmen this year, and they have been big bullies around there for a long time. And I told Dad, they're cousins of ours through my mom's side of the family, but I told Dad that he needed to send them to me because I sent them to the Poly camp out in California, and so they went to Poly America out there in LA and really did a really good job. But one of the things I wanted them to get out of this was to see the other talent out there in the state, because both of these kids are going to be really good players because they can move. You know what I mean? And so they've got a really high ceiling. But I wanted them to kind of see and get a taste of the other talent that's around there, and they really enjoyed it. You know, so it was just fun. I know they had a good time with it.
No, they are both are. We interviewed them. Both are well spoken kids. In fact, I think Marshall interviewed Tito, and I interviewed Vu, and
Yeah,
um, and I asked him right off the bat. I said, "Hey, you got to tell me now, uh, or what's your culture?" And he looked at me immediately and said, I'm Samoan. I said, okay. I could say, I got to know that. I can call you, I can say, Polly, but I'd rather address it. But the last thing I want to do is call somebody as big as you Tongan when you're Samoan, because that's
yeah,
fighting words. But no, they admitted that they dominated in middle school, and they're looking forward to high school because they'll be the. But I mean, I'll be shocked if I'm at Lot Nike. Those kids are playing varsity as freshmen. I'm sorry,
yeah,
they're
yeah,
being like you said, they've got good feet, and they're both about 6'3", about 230-35 pounds. Those are
yeah,
solidly put together kids.
yeah. And they're not done growing. They haven't been in the weight room. There's a lot of things that right now come to them naturally from their dad. And dad is Jermaine's dad. He's 6 foot 5, and he's a monster of a man. So they have a really good bloodline in Jesse Sapolu, who played for years. Those are first cousins to them. So they come from a line of great athletes, and
Oh man.
you know we'll see what happens. But both of them, I wanted them to get the experience. Obviously, being Samoan boys, they're always going to run under my wing a little bit, and I just appreciate you guys showing them a little love.
No, I'm excited about those two. I can't wait to watch them grow up because and they both have the right attitudes. They're humble, which I mean they are good examples of their culture because that's what Mike Gundy and his staff at Oklahoma State have really embraced bringing poly players in. And I mean it started when my son Zach was in the program, and some of those kids, in fact, one of his best buds that he played with lives in Alaska now, and they communicate all the time. And those kids bring a family warrior, just a great character value
Yeah,
to your football team.
we try to. Our culture, which I love the way our people are in the sense of being family oriented, and we just have a high respect for adults, for every adult, no matter what race or gender. We have a high respect level for our older community. I laugh sometimes because those boys' dads, if they were to act up in any way, I don't have to do any. I could pull those boys to the side, and I could sasa them, which in Samoa that means I could spank both of them publicly if I needed to. And
You
and
better
that's
get
just
some
kind of
help.
our culture. Yeah, like we traditionally, if I met a Samoan for the very first time, my house is open to him. He can go sleep there. They can eat whatever it's that is how it is. All the way across the board. We just want to make sure that we're always taking care of other people, and it's just part of the culture. So it's what I love about
Yeah.
our people, and it's pretty cool because being the director of the camp, I got to do the breakdown, and so of course we did a little bit different style, and the kids enjoyed it.
Yeah, and they did. I saw that. We got to but good job. I can tell you, we were happy to be involved in it. Would you do this again? We want to stay involved in it, and Just appreciate it. We got interviews with some 20 kids and a lot of good video. And I know there was other media there. They looked like they were getting what they needed. So appreciate it and great job.
Hey, thanks for being a part of it. We appreciate you guys, and hope to see you guys soon.
All right, thanks, Aso.
All right,
Aso
bye bye.
Pogi, the I-4 football 2020 showcase was a big success.